Mike Show. I'm Mike Doherty.
I'm Cal Davenport.
And today we're here to talk about the UN Arms Treaty. Let's discuss the origins first, Cal. What do you think? Talk about how this all came about.
Well, in 2001, the United Nations set up a committee. We're just going to call it the Arms Treaty because the
names were like ridiculously long. Actually, I think it took up about the same space as a paragraph almost, and I'm not even kidding. You can look it up.
So we're just going to refer to it as the Arms Treaty Committee. And
if at the end of the video we have some extra time, we might just make you sit through the name, let us talk about it, but we're not going to do that here at all. Anyway.
They put together a treaty that it's kind of been in the works since about 2006 here. This was the first time it was addressed in the United Nations.
Yeah, the General Assembly, that's the first time it came up for a vote.
Where the actual countries vote on
issues, yeah. I mean,
rather
think of it as like a committee making something up as if, in the U.S. Congress, and then it got...
it's brought to the floor.
Yeah, brought to the floor for a vote. Same kind of thing.
So 153 states voted in favor of it, which is the overwhelming majority. 24 abstained from the vote. Israel was one of those, for example. And the United States was the only country to vote against it.
Mm-hmm. And then the treaty was brought up again in 2009, and the Obama administration reversed the previous administration's stance on the issue, obviously the Bush administration's stance on this, and decided that we would like to get involved in the UN Arms Treaty.
And so what this actually does then, when following this vote in 2000, this took place late 2009, is that they're trying to set the stage to develop a treaty to be negotiated in 2012 at the United Nations. So there are different meetings set up in the next year and a half or so. And some meetings have taken place since the vote in 2009.
Right. I mean,
what they're trying to do with this treaty is basically set an international standard on the trade, import, export of small arms to try to crack down on illicit trade that...
things like they're trying to prevent terrorists from acquiring weapons, prevent weapons from being used in the commission of genocide, by various political groups or even governments throughout the world. Trying to curb down on the weapon use by organized criminals in organized crime. Yes. Well, not all criminals are organized, but anyway, it's not part of this. And to prevent armed conflict. They don't want trade to one rebel faction against the government and back and forth. Basically, it keeps supplying these people with weapons to kill each other.
And this seems to be, it's a pretty, it's a noble cause and everything, but...
On the surface.
We kind of, we believe that different parts of the treaty are actually more damaging than what we see on the surface.
Mm-hmm. The big thing, the U.S., when they came into this, Hillary Clinton told the United Nations that if the U.S. is to take part in this, which we'd like to, at least as of now with Obama, we have to have a consensus, basically a unanimous vote on the resolution. That the resolution has to be passed by everyone, and if anyone votes against it, it can be...
it's basically vetoed.
Yeah, vetoed. So it'll be dead. And there's a lot of organizations that don't want that to happen because they fear that it just won't be passed.
And Oxfam Oxfam International, which is a non-governmental organization devoted to promoting peace, and they put out a statement. This is a quote from them. They say, "Governments must resist U.S. demands to give any single state the power to veto the treaty, as this could hold the process hostage during the course of negotiations. We call on all governments to reject such a veto clause."
Mm-hmm. And that's basically what I was talking about. A lot of these governments, and even the non-governmental organizations, don't want there to be a consensus or a unanimous vote on the issue because they fear that it just won't happen. It's not going to get done unless there's a majority vote.
On the other hand, we can still end up having a treaty passed that's it has loopholes and kind of things that are odious to certain countries, like, for example, for us here in the United States, and whatever say we have is irrelevant in the end if majority votes against us.
Right, right. Basically, the reason why the U.S. doesn't want there to be a majority vote and they want it to be a unanimous vote is because they just don't want, as Cal said, they just don't want there to be a resolution passed that we just don't agree on, but it would be imposed on us anyway. And considering we're the biggest contributor to the UN and everything like that, and the UN pretty much only exists because of the United States. It is kind of it's the thought of the UN imposing stuff on us without our consent more than anything is pretty irritating, to say the least.
Now, many of the states here are less developed than us and have less ability to bring the implementation of the different parts of the treaty into effect in their own countries, and so they want states that have a greater capacity to do this to actually assist the weaker states. They say in the Arms Treaty Resolution they urge states in a position to do so to render assistance in ensuring the highest possible standards.
Basically, they want us to foot the bill, like normal. That's
And
not
even
much of a change
offer
in the
our
status
own,
quo.
and possibly offer our own people and everything. And as of now, we generally pay about 22% of the total bill of the United Nations, and we could be footing 22% over again here. And with the deficits and everything, I'm sure everybody's going to be enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, they're going to be wild about that one.
And at the 2010 meeting, Iran was particularly insistent about the demand that the weapons producers provide assistance. So, since the United States is the top exporter of weapons, Iran wants the United States to assist them in, assist them in the enforcement of the treaty. That, by the way, is a quote from a Heritage Foundation paper on the subject.
Yep. That's the next thing we have an issue with is there's First Amendment problems with this treaty. A lot of people think, just on the surface, that how would an arms treaty have anything to do with the First Amendment? Upon finding this, we were actually pretty surprised ourselves. At least I was. Assume you were too, correct?
I was, yeah. I thought when they were talking about small arms, we're thinking about like guns, weapons that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
pistols,
like, okay,
assault rifles, grenades, maybe. Not. Well,
yeah, M60s.
Video games.
Video games. Yeah. That's actually part of the discussion here going on with this treaty. Let's see here. Pulled from this is pulled from the I believe the last meeting of this Arms Treaty Committee. Remember I was telling you about that? The name's too long to put on camera.
This was in July of 2010, by the way, that they had this meeting. This is pretty much the most recent thing that this committee has done.
Yeah, it's let's see, sustained efforts. This is one of their goals, by the way, for the treaty. Sustained efforts at re-education and reorientation of their citizens towards de-emphasizing first recourse to arms violence as means of resolving conflicts. Now, that's not directly related to video games, but it's a way of, I guess, a re-education of the citizenry.
Right. But later on, they do mention as one of their goals the reduction of violence in the media and in video games. And this, to me, I don't know, this re-education and reorientation comes across to me as Orwellian, kind of a code for teaching the citizens to look at things the way we want them to.
Not necessarily being able to think freely and choose whether, if you're confronted with a violent situation, if you're going to react violently or not. Everyone has a right to self-preservation, and I think of all the human rights groups who support, the arms treaty, you would think that, having the means to self-defense and the right to self-defense would be pretty important on their human rights list. I think that's everyone's right as a human being for self-preservation. Someone attacks you, and you know, they're trying to use lethal force, use lethal force back or whatever is necessary to either kill them or stop them. And so this re-education and reorientation of citizens, I think, is trying to pacify people more than anything, you know. And I kind of wonder about the motivation behind that, you know, if they're pacifying it so that when the government does something else, you know, restrict whatever they do in the future, it's less likely that the citizenry will be upset about it. That's just my personal theory. I don't really have any facts behind it to support that.
It could potentially be a foot in the door for future re-education and reorientation. Who knows what?
And people really won't be able to think for themselves what they feel about it.
And yeah, and we don't really know at this point. I mean, this is again an ongoing treaty. The wording is still being discussed and everything. And we don't really know in the end what this culture of peace that they're trying to promote is going to look like and how much it relates to that. I mean, this is a very broad treaty that, or it's
Say
it requires.
Vaguely worded, maybe.
It requires a lot of. There's some 170 plus countries involved here, and that's a lot of different cultures, and it's going to be very difficult to gain any kind of meaningful consensus on what is a culture of peace, and we don't know how much that will impact the way we in our country, in America, look at and react to things. So.
Right.